DreAllDay.com. DreAllDay.com. Let's talk risk. Definition of risk is seeing a potential danger or something that you see as a possible danger is a risk. Thing is, then you got to get a definition of the word danger. And we all define danger in different ways. But when we talk entrepreneurship, because that's the topic, risk and entrepreneurship. To be an entrepreneur means you are taking on more than necessary financial risk. So there's another variable word based on what you consider to be necessary, what's more than normal risk. But here's the thing, the reason why I'm talking about this is that if you're going to be an entrepreneur, you're going to have to do some things that are risky for you. Whatever you think is risky, meaning, and this means financial risk. We're talking specifically about money. You're going to have to do some things around money that may not be very comfortable for you. Things that would be you taking on a little bit more than maybe you think you've been used to handling, or that you think you are even capable of handling, but you got to do that in order to be an entrepreneur. So for example, I was at a conference, and a lot of people who were at this conference, a sales and marketing conference, there's a lot of entrepreneurs there, and a lot of people there who were generating a lot of revenue. Again, there's another relative term, a lot. They were all talking about running advertising. And there was a guy who spoke on stage one day, and he made a joke. I can't remember exactly what he said, but he was like, people will all day spend money on things that aren't doing anything for them, but then you tell them, yo, spend some money on ads to get your products and your services seen by more people. And those same people who spend money on bullshit won't invest any money into advertising, because they're like, well, advertising is risky because I might put $100 into an ad and not make any money, or $1,000 into an ad, or whatever number of dollars. Oh shit, my bad. Or whatever number of dollars into an ad and not make any money from it, because they see that as a risk. Well, I'll put that up and I might not get anything back. But if you think about it, entrepreneurs out there, we spend money on things every single day that's not doing anything for us, but we spend money on them simply because we want to, simply because we want the entertainment, or we want the experience, or you want that cupcake or the bag of chips or whatever it is you're spending money on. It ain't doing nothing for you, but you won't quote unquote risk a few dollars on some ads, or a lot of dollars on some ads that would actually help your business if they work out. And even if they don't work out, I mean, if you know what you're doing, if you know how to read, then you just look at the analytics, look at the data, and you can find out why they didn't work, and you can use that information to help you move forward. So, okay, it didn't work when I advertised to this audience, so let me do a similar advertisement, let me send it to a different audience, or let me do it a little bit different way, or let me try a different headline, or let me try a different photo. So it's not really risky. What it is you're just getting the information. Another way that you can risk in business, the reason I'm talking about ads so much is because a lot of people in business don't want to put money into ads. For many years, I didn't really put money into ads, and I mean, compared to some people who are out there now, I'm still not putting that much money into advertising, but I will be scaling up advertising as this year goes on and moving forward. Simply because, not necessarily because it's guaranteed to be the way that makes my business bigger, but because it's a way to get more information, it's a way to get the information faster. If you want to learn more about that, you can go take some courses on advertising and things like that from people who are experts at it. I wouldn't call myself an expert. But it is a risk that you are taking, but you're taking it with the purpose of, the risk is I could put up this money and not get it back. But the other side of the risk, the upside of the risk is this could help me make more money. It'll give me more information about my audience, my products, my services. It'll tell me what works and what doesn't work. These are all the things that happen when you take what you would consider to be a risk. Another thing with entrepreneurs, I heard a speaker say this. He said, if you're the type of person who wants to work from Monday to Friday, and then on the weekends and on holidays, you want to spend time with your kids, or you want to go to the beach, or you want to do leisure activities, or you want to be the type of person who knows that you got to be at work from 9 a.m. to 5 p.m. And then after that, you know that you got the rest of your life to yourself. If that's the type of person that you are, then you should get a job and go work for somebody. But if you're the type of person who you believe enough in your mission whatever your purpose is, whatever you're trying to get out to the world through your company, if you believe enough in it that you're okay with, sometimes not having a weekend or not having time off, or being a person who, while your employees are at the beach and partying on the weekend, you're at home trying to figure out how the fuck you're going to pay your staff on Monday, because those payroll checks ain't going to go through with the money that's in your business account right now, but you got to figure that out by Monday so everybody can get paid. If you believe in your mission enough to deal with that, and with that is definitely a risk, knowing that you owe people money because they work for you, but you're not sure how you're going to pay them, or you're not sure how you're going to deal with this problem and that problem and any problem that comes up. Even if you're not the one who caused it, maybe one of your employees caused it, but it's not their company, they don't work, they just work there, or it's your company. If you're willing to take the risk of putting all that weight on your shoulders if and when things like that take place, and I guarantee those things will take place, and you don't have to have that big of a business for that kind of stuff to happen. You don't have to have 1 million employees. You can have 3 employees. You can have 1 employee, and stuff like that's going to happen. If you believe in your mission enough to deal with that risk, then entrepreneurship is something that you should be looking into. And entrepreneurship is absolutely not for everybody, simply because a lot of people aren't willing to take risks. And again, being that is a relative term, here's another way that people don't want to take risks. Like, I know people who work in client-based businesses, right? So like professional speaking, coaching, consulting, training, things like that. Things where somebody comes to you, asks you, can you deliver your service? And you get to basically tell them, yo, this is how much it's going to cost. You can basically set your price, whatever you want it to be. So I know somebody who, a person came to them, I wrote an article about this as well. It might be out by the time you see this, but might not. The person who had someone come to them, ask them to do like some client-based work. And they had never had requests like this before. They had, but they hadn't really known how to handle it. And I told them what price to quote. And the price that I told them to quote was higher than what they were used to quoting. And they got kind of nervous. They were like, well, it's risky for me to name that price because it's such a high price. I have never charged this before. I don't have all the experience that says that I'm so good that they basically didn't think they were worth that dollar amount. And then they're like, well, what if the person says no? Or, if I was to quote that price to everybody and nobody pays that price, then I'm just going to miss out on all this business. What am I supposed to do? Well, the first answer to that is it's a risk. Okay, so there's a lot of answers to that, but I'll just give this answer. This is the one we'll deal with because that's what I'm talking about in this video. Yeah, it's a risk when someone asks you your price and you quote a price that's maybe higher than what you think they have, or higher than what you think you're worth, or higher than what you've ever charged before. That is the risk that you take. But what's the upside to the risk? The upside to the risk is that they say yes, and now you're worth it. You go do the job, and hopefully you're actually good. You deliver on the job, now what? Now, the next time you had to say that number, you're comfortable with it, at least a little bit more comfortable, because you asked for it last time, got it, and you delivered on it. What's the downside to the risk? The downside is that they say no. They say, well, that's too high, we ain't got that. Or they say that's crazy, and they never reach out to you ever again. That's the downside to the risk. And here's the thing about that downside is that in business, you got to be willing to walk away. That's the way negotiations work, right? The power in any negotiation for any person is your willingness to walk away from it. And when I say negotiation, I'm not necessarily talking about you being in a boardroom and somebody saying this is the contract and this dollar amount and that dollar amount. Yes, I am talking about that, but this applies to life as well, not just at work. In a relationship, your leverage in any relationship with any person is your willingness to tell that person, no, what you're doing right now or what you're proposing is unacceptable. And if you're not willing to change it, then I'm walking away and you're going to have to find somebody else to deal with. If you're not willing to say that in a relationship, then as the saying goes, if you don't stand for something, you'll fall for anything. It's the same way that it works in business. If you're a consultant and somebody says, well, look, I'll offer you $5,000 for this consulting gig, and you say my consulting fee is $15,000, and they say, well, no, we're not giving you $15,000, we only offering $5,000, and you accept it, well, you're not a $15,000 consultant anymore. You're a $5,000 consultant because you accepted the $5,000. That's a negotiation. It's the same thing in life in a relationship with another person. Somebody's being disrespectful to you, and you let them be disrespectful, then that's who you are. You are what you accept in life. So and this goes into a whole other conversation, different topics I've talked about on my podcast and in my master classes that you can get at Work on Your Game University. The link is down there in the description, wherever you're watching this. understand that, yes, when you go into business and you're an entrepreneur, risk is part of the job. It's part of the business. It's part of what you signed up for. If you're going to get into entrepreneurship, you will be taking risks. You will have to deal with those risks. You'll have to learn to navigate those risks, and you got to get comfortable dealing with them. You got to get, and even if the risks make you uncomfortable, as the saying goes, get comfortable being uncomfortable. That is what an entrepreneur does. You want to know why some entrepreneurs or some people become the bosses of companies while other people just work at companies, or why some people's business gets bigger than others? It's not necessarily because one guy is smarter than the other guy, or luckier than the other guy, or I don't know, maybe not even necessarily better. That's the crazy thing. Maybe not necessarily better than the other guy. Look, the content that I put out, the stuff that I talk about, I guarantee you it's people out there whose businesses are 10 times bigger than mine, who are not better than me as far as the content. We were just measuring content. There are people I'm better than, but their business is 10 times bigger. And the reason why their business is 10 times bigger often is because those people have taken more and bigger risks in their business than I have. And they've done it for longer than me. More risk, bigger risk, and more frequent risk, and just more longevity in taking risks than I have. The thing is, good thing is, I recognize that, and I can do something about it. I can go take some risk, and I can catch up. I can go find out what other people are doing. I can gauge, I can make adjustments. But if you understand this whole concept of taking risks, but you're unwilling or too uncomfortable with risks to do anything with this information, well, you just got to get comfortable with where you're at, because you're not going to go any further. Understand that growth in life it involves risk. I mean, that's just the way that it works. Y'all watch National Geographic and Animal Planet and all that shit. You see when a newborn baby animal, any animal, is born, then they say, the little voiceover, the animal is vulnerable, most vulnerable, like in the early stages, those first couple days or weeks or however long it takes for the animal to get mature enough to run away or take care of itself, or to fly if it's a bird, whatever the situation is, right? If that animal can't deal with that risk, well, the animal doesn't have a choice. It doesn't get to say, no, I don't want to. Put me back in the shell, back in the egg. They got to deal with the risk. Now, either they're going to die or they're going to live. It's one or the other. Human beings, us being such smart creatures that we are, we kind of get to make a decision what we're going to do. So a lot of human beings can stagnate, not grow, not get any better, pretty much stay in the same spot, just because we are so uncomfortable and afraid of that risk. And again, I'm talking about entrepreneurship, but this doesn't have to be about business. This can be about any area of life. You just got to ask yourself, how much risk are you willing to deal with? And understand the level of risk that you are willing to deal with is either going to be the thing that shoots you higher and higher in your business/life, or is going to be the concrete ceiling. No, it won't be a concrete ceiling. It'll be a glass ceiling, because you can break it whenever you want. It'll be the glass ceiling that's holding you back. But it is 100% up to you. Work on your game. Dre all day.